This video brought to you in part by these fantastic Patreons. Patreons are the lifeblood and the backbone of this channel and help with cool things like the giveaway in the description. But let's get into the video. Hey guys, what is up and welcome to the channel. This is, I believe, the fifth TSS podcast, and I am joined by Soberoni of G&A Reviews. Say hey, Soberoni. For those of you who don't know Soberoni, which is, I can't imagine anybody, but Soberoni, tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right, I, like Shogun, am a FGO YouTuber. Primarily, I'm known for spotlights. I love to do servant spotlights, also streaming, of course, gameplay. We also cover anime and other things on our channel, G&A Reviews, so check that out. And yeah, I'm just a huge Fate fan.
Yeah, no, I've been noticing that you've been covering a lot more anime stuff lately, which is really cool. I like seeing people branch out and do things that they're real passionate into, and plus I like to vicariously watch and hear about anime through other people because I have such a hard time setting aside time with all the gacha games that I'm playing to really watch anime. But so speaking of, what got you into Fate? Was it the anime? Was it the visual novel? When did Soberoni decide that Fate was where you were going to end up at for content?
Well, so what got me into Fate originally was, unfortunately, the 2006 Dean Fate Stay Night anime, which I saw back when it had just finished airing. I remember when I was young, and I must have been either starting high school or maybe at the end of middle school, and I had a Wii or GameCube hooked up to my couch, or no, it was a Wii, and I would just stream anime on YouTube or whatever, and I just sat down and must have marathoned all of Fate Stay Night off of YouTube in a couple of days, and it was just like the greatest thing I ever saw. It was just amazing. Preteen me loved it.
Oh yeah, no, dude, and I remember because Dean was how I originally got into it too. Now, if you try to go back and get somebody to watch Dean, it's pretty tough. But at the time, like you said, you sit down and you're like, I'm not going to stop until I have consumed every last piece of this. And the watching things on YouTube, like especially back in the day, oh man, that made it even more rough because it's not like people were uploading stuff in 4K 1080p.
You
you had
360p quality,
360p. Downloading that stuff off of LimeWire, giving your computer cancer just to find the middle episode. You'd find like 23 of the episodes, and it wasn't missing 24, it was missing 16.
It's always that random episode in the middle of the series, here's 10, 11, 15, 16. I'm like, what?
And so you're scouring the depths, the shady depths of LimeWire to find some sketchy version of it so that you can finish it, or you just don't watch it and then you're like, meh, I guess I'll see what happened in the 5-minute recap on the next episode. Because I watch a lot of One Piece, and they're near the beginning of One Piece. You could just skip every other episode because everything was just recapped in the first 5 minutes of it, but no, that's cool. Yeah. And a lot of people I've noticed, if they're real hardcore Fate fans, Dean was where they started. A little jealous of new Fate fans sometimes because they get to start literally wherever they want. Hey, do you like action and badass fight scenes? Here's Fate Zero. Hey, do you like really, really pretty stuff? Here's unlimited budget works. And the other thing too is they have weeks upon weeks of stuff. We had Dean and then just kind of hung out for a while.
Yeah, and it's just incredible to see so many different ways. Whenever somebody asks me how should I get into Fate, I like having the variety of ways to ask them. Like, well, what kind of show do you like? Do you like action? Do you like drama? Do you like philosophical thought? You can go to Fate Zero, or do you want to be like an originalist and stick it through, grind through Fate Stay Night, original Deed Stay Night to get an understanding of the series. And it's just great to have so many interesting.
Yeah, or you go, hey, have you seen Astolfo memes? Do you like Astolfo memes? Let's watch Apocrypha.
Yeah, you like lowlies? Let's watch some Prisma.
And then, jokes on them, you're actually Chris Hansen.
Yeah, and that's when you get them. Exactly. That's when the FBI bust through the window.
But hey, you got to turn in your buddies sometimes for some gacha money, right? Like Chris Hansen hit me with those Saint Quartz, my dudes. I brought you another one.
CCCs are right around the corner. I need that gacha money.
That's true. And speaking of CCC, you play JP and NA. Did you start with JP, or did you start with NA and then transition over to JP?
I started with JP, and I'm a day oneer on JP. I actually knew about Fate Grand Order like a few months before it came out, and I was just super hyped for it. I started originally with JP, played that since the beginning, still playing it, and of course I started NA when it came out, and I play them both side by side, which is a nightmare. But
I absolutely, it's rough for me just playing NA. Now, granted, first world problems, I pretty much roll for everybody, and then it's like, oh look, another 5-star that I've got to level and get chocolates for, and not be a scrub and have all of my skills 111. So I can't even imagine playing both of them at the level that I would need to play in order to be happy with myself, because like whenever I play a game, it's like if I'm gonna actually like play it semi-seriously, like I want to optimize stuff. I want to have my units maxed out, stuff like, especially since I started this channel and now it's like people watch me play. I don't want to like just be a scrub, because then they'll make fun of me and then I'll feel bad and then I'll be like, oh, I'm going to go eat some ice cream. But at least the upside is that I would have some ice cream. But I can't imagine. And I know that there's people that just absolutely grind the crap out of both of them, and I'm just like, man, good on you. Now, were you excited when it came to North America and you could actually read the story?
Yes, because I did not read any of the translations. I know that people translated and posted on Reddit and stuff, but I just didn't want to read those. So the fact that I was like, oh yes, I actually get to know what I'm playing now was a huge thing. So I still don't know the story. I don't know the story for the Epic of Remnants or the Lost Belt coming up. So I'm still excited. It's just like a perpetual cycle of excitement playing NA.
It's really weird too, because some people will be like, oh my god, no spoilers, I don't want to see anything about the future. But it's like, homie, can you read moon runes? Because I can show you pictures and it's not gonna spoil really anything.
CGs don't tell the whole story.
So I try not to like look too far ahead into JP. Now I will admit that when there's good fan art, especially of any Tamamo, I will I'll ruin myself. But you do what you have to for good, tasteful fan art, because it's that's the only thing that we peddle in on my Discord server is very tasteful doujins and very wholesome fan art. But so you also play Shadowverse too, right?
Yep, Shadowverse.
That's cool. And I know that you dabble in like Azure Lane and like everything else that kind of comes up every so often. What's your favorite ship in Azure Lane?
My favorite ship. That's a tough one. They're so great. I'd have to say Laffy. Laffy's my original starter.
Yeah, Sleepy Bunny Girl. She's super adorable. Her and Nicholas, the Fletcher, they're both adorable sleepy girls. You just want to pat their heads and and tuck them into bed. But
there's so many great girls in Azure Lane, though. It's so hard to pick.
yeah. The only downside is that, man, they just hit you with so many skins on a regular basis, and every time they put out new skins, you're just like, oh my god, I want all of these, but I don't want to pay for all of these because and that's the problem too with playing multiple gacha games, especially if you whale, because once you whale in one, it's super easy to justify whaling in 5, 6 games.
Oh yeah, I've gotten to the point where it's like you're trying to spread your budget across multiple gacha games. Like, wait, I didn't spend $80 on a quartz pack in FGO, so maybe I could spend $80 to buy some crystals in Shadowverse.
Right? It's like, oh man, I really want this thing, but if I get it in this many quartz, then that just means that I've got this much more money to spend on this unit. Yeah, you're like doing master's level math, trying to
got the accounting sheet up.
Yeah, you're like, how many extra hours at work do I have to work in order to to justify this purchase? So it's definitely real tough, and I find as a content creator, there's actually a little bit of pressure on you to actually roll, because people are like, oh man, I want to see you roll, and then you're like, all right, cool, I wasn't going to, but I guess I am now. And then you just start getting that itch, and sometimes I'll just install random gacha games just to get through the tutorial and hit some gacha and then uninstall it. But
and I definitely feel the pressure if I'm streaming something and there's a gacha up or something. That's the worst. That's just having a bunch of quartz saved up, and there's just a nice servant on raid up.
Yeah, and then it's always everyone in chat will be like, oh hey, are you gonna roll on this? You gonna roll on this? And it's like, oh, I wasn't going to, but I guess I am now.
Yes, I have no choice.
Yeah, so I definitely now the thing too with playing JP for me is I feel like it would be real rough for me to want to roll on one account or the other, especially if I'm paying for it, because I would feel real weird about doubling up, or oh man, I've got this cool servant on my JP account, but you would have a split account almost, so that would be real weird for me.
I justify it by using a lot of servants I don't use in JP in NA, and vice versa. I level up different ones and stuff, so at least I get my diversity. These are my NA servants and these are my JP servants.
Oh, okay, yeah, no, that makes sense. And actually, that if you just count it as, look, I've got all of the servants. Yeah, they're across 2 accounts, but I'll just friend myself, and then I can have all of the servants. It kind of works out. So. If you've got what you can have 70 friends, just make 71 accounts, and there you go. Chances are you'll get every servant at some point or another, and they can all be grailed. But so let's see, what else was I going to ask you, Soberoni? Standard questions. I had I was sitting around at work today, and I'm like, man, I'm going to talk to Soberoni about these things. And I already talked to you a bunch when we were at Anime NYC. So I'm like, man, I kind of already know a lot of these things, But what do you see for your channel in the future? Are you just going to stick to the podcasts and FGO, or have you given that any thought?
Yeah, definitely. I think you brought it up a bit earlier with the anime stuff, but I'm definitely still doing the FGO thing. That's our bread and butter. We diversify a bit. I'm using Twitch more. I just started doing Twitch, some RE2 streams. So I do plan on doing a lot more just gaming streams on Twitch and YouTube, but also focusing a lot more on anime as well. Some video essay pieces, a lot more podcasting. So you'll see a lot of diversity in terms of FGO and anime, FGO and whatever the latest game is that's coming out. I might stream on Twitch.
That's really cool. And you know what? One of the things that I really like about Twitch, and actually the reason why I moved over to Twitch, is man, those emotes are so much better. YouTube, up your emote game, my dude. Like if you had the emotes that Twitch had, like you'd probably do a lot better, YouTube. But I can't put surprised Pikachus in the chat. So, of course I'm going to go over to Twitch. The other thing too is it's kind of interesting to see the difference in communities kind of between YouTube and Twitch. And one of the things I was talking to, I forget, I think it might have been Ludes TV or I Wear Clothes previously, but there's so many more people that will watch your streams on YouTube than there is on Twitch. And it's interesting because when you think, oh man, streaming games, you really think Twitch. But I've noticed that when I went over to Twitch, I get like maybe a third of the people that I would get on YouTube. And I wonder if that's because the mobile gaming like sphere hasn't really shifted over to Twitch yet. Like it's moving over there. Epic 7. There's a couple of people that like I'll go in there and they're pulling 400 or 500 viewers, and it's kind of interesting because like I think that mobile gaming and the stuff like with that, like Gacha, we're on kind of the forefront of mobile gaming as like a streaming content creating thing. Because when I started my channel, I took a look at Twitch and like the numbers that FGO was pulling, and like nobody was streaming FGO like at all over there. And but now you go over, you see like X0 pulling like 200-300 people on a regular basis. Pheno's pulling a massive amount of people. X Slice, Ludes, they're all pulling like a pretty decent amount of people. And I think that the more that people get into games like mobile games, gacha games, the more that we're going to see that be a much bigger thing, because a lot of people like just watching whatever they play.
Yeah, and it's definitely a growing area. I forgot, I looked it up earlier, but the amount of money FGO makes and the new user base it gets continuously, and just like the growth rate of all these gacha games like Azure Lane and Epic 7 is through the roof. So the user base is just growing exponentially, and people are streaming it more. It's just a case of constant growth. So,
I think the other thing too is that gacha games are very interchangeable, and if you're a free to play or a cheap to play, it's a lot easier to justify jumping ship per se to a new game like Azure Lane. You go, oh well, this guy's playing it and I like watching what he's playing and he says this game's good, so I'm gonna give it a shot. And then they hook you with all of the super cute ship girls. But the other thing too is, and I used to do this a while back when I started playing gacha games way back in the day, is I would play until I hit a paywall where it was like, yeah, I can't do anything if I'm not paying for refills, so I'll literally log on, do my dailies, and then I'll log off and I'll just go play another one. Because most gacha games, they give you a good some give you like 3 or 4 hours worth of play at the beginning. Some give you like a week before you hit a paywall. So if you're rotating and just running through gacha games, it's really easy to just keep playing free to play. And so if you've got somebody who is playing, Epic 7, but you watch them for FGO, you might go, oh yeah, no, I'm going to play Epic 7 now. And, I think that the addiction factor too of gacha games is going to really spur growth too, because let's be real, once you start playing a gacha game on your phone, you play a lot of gacha games on your phone. Like, no one's
there's
going...
not just one. It's like a cascade of things just pops up.
Oh, 100%. And the other thing too is like every game for your phone that seems to come out nowadays has some sort of element of gacha. And that's both good and bad. But I think that for people like us who are doing the gacha games, it'll be a really interesting thing to see how that plays out, moving forward. And if I was reading an interesting article a while back too about how gacha games, like competitive gacha games with like Guild Wars and PvP and stuff like that,
right?
They're actually trying to like turn that into the next esport. So we might actually just see people that are like sponsored by companies to roll gacha to PvP and like put together teams of like Guild Wars people. And how crazy would it be to have that in a gacha game? Like that would just be so insane.
Your team of millionaires.
Yeah. They come out to like their own walk-on music with like their phone with their like specific workout gloves and stuff. Yeah. It would be so crazy to see that, because I'm like, esports, like, yeah, esports for FGO, man, I can click these 3K scopes so fast. Fast. Yeah, like no one can click these faster or harder than me. So yeah, it's definitely interesting to see where that type of stuff will go. But we've talked about the games part of G&A. Let's talk about the anime part of G&A. So
Thank you for knowing that it stands for games and anime. You'd be surprised how many people don't realize it stands for games and anime.
Yeah, no, I could see that. People be like, "Well, what's G&A stand for?"
We tell everyone it stands for Greg and Anthony, and they just rock with it.
But is neither of your names are Greg or
no,
Anthony,
no,
right?
No.
Oh, okay. Just like, oh, Greg and Anthony. All right, cool deal, dude. There's some dudes we know. Sweet. But, so anyways, anime. And with Fate, it seems like they're just cranking up the amount of anime that they are pushing out to 11. Now, earlier we talked about Dean and how you kind of had to, like, hang out until we got, the next one. And Fate anime was very, hey, give it a couple years, maybe another one will come out. But the thing is like, in the last handful of years, we've seen them really ramping up what they're putting out and what they're bringing to North America. Now, me and you had talked about this a little bit, but with them bringing Babylonia and Camelot, my first thing with that I was actually kind of upset, because I'm like, well, what about the other singularities? How are you going to just, go from, the prologue Fuyuki to Camelot? Like, you're missing a whole lot of story there.
There's a lot of story in between those two phases of the game.
Yeah, and one of the articles that I've read not too long ago indicated that the studios that are working on these want them to be independent from each other, and they want them to be consumable by somebody who has either played the game or not played the game. Now, there's a target date for Babylonia. I don't think there's a target date or anything really about Camelot. They're going to put out Babylonia first, and there's so much story, like all of it at the current time in NA, and I just don't know how they're going to do that and make a story that, make an anime that is going to really kind of bring in the FGO fanatic, as well as also cater to the people who have no clue what happened in the last all of the story.
Yeah, that's kind of a mystery to me. I don't really like when when shows and directors are like, we're going to make this for everyone. I'm like, well, then you just made it for no one because, you're not appealing to the base and you're not reaching out enough to the people who are new to the media. So I'm kind of concerned about that, especially with Babylon, because all the other chapters build up to Babylon. You need a ton of knowledge to know what's going on in Babylon and how, or even just the characters in general. Like, so Mosh is going to show up, and somebody who's never seen or heard of Fate Grand Order is going to know about Mosh and Dr. Roman and Da Vinci and
right. And that's the other thing too, is like, through the story is where you build up the feels for Roman.
Exactly, and a lot of their characters depend on that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so I mean, sure, they could do the whole, oh, hey, here's a flashback. Hey, here's a small snippet of stuff that happened in the past. Oh, hey, here's a snippet of Blackbeard from Okeanos. Haha, isn't he funny? But that doesn't really build anything up. So it's like, I don't know, you saw the first episode of Heaven's Feel, right?
Yes.
So I took somebody to see that who was semi-familiar with the Fate universe. They'd seen Fate Zero, really didn't watch too much else. And the beginning of that and what was going on in the first movie, they're like, I have no clue what I just watched. Other than the only thing I know is that Cursed Arm Hassan is an absolute mad lad. But I don't know anything else. Why is Saber edgy now? And so I feel like if they did that type of deal with Babylonia, where they're just kind of like, oh, hey, here, we're just gonna throw a whole bunch of stuff at you and you're gonna have no clue what's going on, but you're really supposed to like this guy. He's really cool, and you're supposed to go on a feels trip at the end of this, but you're not going to know why. I think that's going to do a little bit of a disservice to the fan base.
Yeah, I don't even see it unless it's for it to work. I would say it needs a significant amount. It would need at least 20 episodes, 20 to 24. If it's a 12 or 13 episode series.
I thought that I heard that they're both supposed to be 24 episode series.
That's a little better. It gives me a little bit more hope because you're going to need. I'm imagining it's going to be something like what they did with both Unlimited Blade Works and with Fate Zero, where the first episode's kind of like this longer, just like introduction to the series. If they do something like that, maybe it could kind of work. Although you would need a hell of a lot of exposition to fit into a an hour-long episode to fill you in on what the hell's going on in Fate Grand Order in Babylon.
Right, and like that's the thing too. The other thing too is, I mean, Babylonia is huge just in general by itself. Yeah. I mean, the amount of story that is packed into that singularity is just massive. Now the thing too is like you're not going to have you obviously won't have the full climax at the end unless they actually go into the Solomon part of it. But the fact that they're going to put out Babylonia potentially first and then follow up with Camelot, that seems like such a weird way to go about that, because you would think that you could use a good portion of the Camelot anime 24, let's say they do 24 episodes, you use like the first like 5 or 6 to really paint the previous picture, then you hit everyone with Camelot, and then you move into Babylonia. Now you can just hammer out story in there, because well, really, if you're watching Babylonia, you should have seen Camelot first. Fate Grand Order, you watch it in order. But with them putting it out second and being independent of each other, like I just don't know how that's gonna work. It almost feels like they're gonna try to pull a Lost Encore, where it's going to be one of those. It's going to be one of those. This is the story, but not the story. This is our retelling of the story.
Complete recreation of the story.
We're gonna put a whole bunch of stuff in here that nobody's really gonna understand, and they're probably gonna be real mad about this because it's not like the original, but it's not a standalone, and you kind of need to know things, but you're not told anything. So it's gonna be, I don't know how I feel about that. I think that what they could have done, and probably the best logical course, would have been to just put out OVAs of each singularity.
Like they did with Fuyuki.
Yeah, exactly. Just like, boom, here is each singularity's movie, and then they could just run through that stuff like super quick. Now, like me personally, I would love to see an America singularity anime.
Yes, that was my other great choice, was America next to Camelot and Babylonia. You
could zoom through, France, Septum, Okeanos, that's cool. But like America would be hilarious. I want to see the Preza King animated. I want to see Maeve and Ku alter stuff. I want to see
great.
Because it had really good writing. It was hilarious. Like the story was good, and then it's like you could move up from there. And I think not putting it in order is real dumb, but at the same time, I also don't produce anime, so maybe maybe they've got some sort of
plan.
Yeah, it's all some sort of plan by Nasu to and then 10 years down the road he'll be like, see, everything comes together, and
it's like the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but for Type Moon is the Type Moon Cinematic Universe. We're gonna have like an Avengers initiative start up.
Yeah. Thanos is just going to come in, snap his fingers. Half of your SSRs turn into rare mana prisms.
It's a great raid event.
Yeah. So, I mean, it'll be interesting. I think that I'm afraid that they are going to start putting stuff out too quick, and the quality might drop. That's kind of what I feel, because, I mean, the last couple of things have not been amazing.
Yeah, I don't like how they have multiple studios handling different Fate projects. Like, so far, I only like UFO Table and Silverlink's Prism.
See, is that how you say it, UFO Table? Because I've always called it UFO.
I say UFO Table. Some people say Affordable. I don't know.
Because the first time I ran into somebody that said UFO Table, they're like, "Oh yeah, no, I like the UFO Table version." And I'm like, "You mean UFO?"
There'll be 100 comments telling me I pronounced it wrong. Don't worry about it.
Oh, trust me, I get that in everything. They're like, "Yo, did you know that you pronounced that horribly?" And I'm like, "Welcome to the channel. You must be new."
But I don't like how they farm out these properties. I get it. I get why they do it. Obviously, UFO Table can't do everything.
I mean, if you throw enough money at them, they should.
We're gonna triple the stuff. Well, they definitely have more than enough money to do it.
Yeah.
I
mean, let's be real. Type Moon has enough money to do probably whatever they want. So.
Oh yeah.
Except for
franchise.
hire a PR rep for NA.
No, I looked up their franchises, like how much Fate made as a gaming franchise compared to. It just recently passed Metal Gear in terms of global, franchise sales, just based off FGO. So they have
like just one Metal Gear, or like all
the
Metal
Gear
Gears?
series.
Wow, that is.
I think it's 3.8 billion. Yeah, it's insane. So they have the money.
Yeah, no, the thing, like when you go over to Japan, like Fate is everywhere. Like it's crazy how ingrained everything Fate is into like Japan. So and it's interesting too, because you would think that like the Japanese audience would be, really critical of them putting out, what seems like kind of lazy, like generalized anime. But I guess I kind of understand they're trying to like cater to both like new and hardcore people, to bring more people in so that they can have even more money. But let's fingers crossed and knock on wood that they don't go the Bethesda route and just start gutting their own franchise for money, because that would be pretty rough.
I don't think I could survive that. My heart would just sink to the lowest depths of hell.
We're gonna get Fate 76. Don't worry, guys. We'll get you your Canvas SSR.
Send you a plastic bag.
Send you a Fion. Yeah, but and it'll be interesting too to see where they go after Camelot and Babylonia. Do they jump into Epic of Remnant? Do they jump right into Lost Belt? What I think would actually be kind of cool to see too is if they were to animate things like some of the bigger events like Gouda Gouda, or maybe a large summer event. Those would be kind of cool to just see OVAs of.
Yeah, that'd be really awesome. I would especially love to see Nobu and Okita, mess around on screen. That seems like it'd be a very fun OVA to watch.
Yeah, no, and I mean, I think that with them doing that that little learning with manga thing, maybe they will branch out and do some of the events. Like, it would be, it would be kind of silly to not use the plethora of story that they have, Nasu written or not, of Fate Grand Order, when it's literally just sitting there.
Yeah, they have enough material for the next decade worth of, movies and animes and OVAs that they can possibly do just based on FGO alone.
Do you think that they'll ever do a Fate Strange Fake anime?
Oof. I don't want to say no, because I definitely can see that happening, but it would not anytime soon. It's probably lower on the priority list. Then again, Fate Apocrypha got an anime, so I'm not sure.
Apocrypha did, and they're doing Case Files.
You know what? Maybe it's just obscure enough for it to work.
Yeah.
They might try to draw people into buying it, yeah.
The other interesting thing, too, is that it might go over well with the North American market, seeing as it is a Grail War, a failed Grail War in America.
Yeah. I've always before I knew about Fate Strange Fake, like even back when I was watching it, the Dean's Day night, I always was like, man, I really wish there was a Grail War set in New York or something.
You know what? Awesome. A friend of mine actually wanted to do a panel at a convention one time, and it was going to be if a Grail War happened in the United States and you could only use servants from like the last couple of 100 years. And we had to come up with, we were brainstorming it, and we were like, oh man, what servants would we use? And mine was Dale Earnhardt, and his Noble Phantasm was the Daytona 500. And I had like all of this stuff planned out. I was like, no, this would be awesome. I even thought up like his different ascension sprites in my head. Like his last one was going to be just him with no shirt on and just like two giant wrenches, like almost Beowulf style. And his Noble Phantasm would teleport you to the middle of the Daytona 500, and like you'd see cars like kind of start whizzing past the person that's in the Noble Phantasm, and then it would just be a giant wreck. Like,
you gotta send this idea to Nasu. I think you have something.
I think it would be great.
Need something for the next 4th of July.
Which I've always wondered, because they indicated that they really want to like celebrate North America. It's like, why don't you guys do a 4th of July banner? Probably because the people over in JP would be like, they'd
lose their shit.
Yeah,
they would lose
which
it.
I've never understood. So we ran into that in Epic 7, where the Korean players who had everything first were super, super salty that we would potentially get a servant out of order with a guaranteed pull rate that they didn't get. And it's like, you already have it. Like you already have
this
had
already.
this. Because it's I forget who I was talking to. I think I was talking to Plushy Mistress about it, and they were indicating that like Japan gets really really salty when we get anything that they didn't get, and I'm like, bro, you are 2 years ahead of us.
Enjoy your servants that don't come out for the next 2 years for us.
Yeah, please. You log in and get like 30 quartz just for no reason. Like, oh hey, they put an arcade in. Here's 30 quartz.
Here's 100 quartz.
Here's 100 quartz.
Just,
you logged in today. Thanks. Here's 70 summon tickets. Have fun. So that's always really weird to me too. And the thing with like a lot of these games is that once they go global, it's really hard to cater to everybody and keep everybody happy. But it'll be interesting too to see what happens when FGO shutters in Japan. Like that's something that I talked about like kind of on the first podcast when everybody was doomsaying about Nasu leaving, and they're like, oh, the end of FGO. But I mean, if they close the doors, who would ever spend on that game again? What whale is going to be like, man, you know what, I need to spend 10 grand a banner for a game that's literally just going to shut down in 2 years?
Yeah, I can't see them like pairing the shutdown announcement with like, we're going to shut down in a couple months. By the way, here's this new gacha. Like,
and the other thing too,
with like a new release of something.
Yeah, why? Like the other thing too that we were talking about with that is, if they just shut it down, where would their incentive be to keep making stuff for NA? Are they just going to be like, well, that sucks? If you want to know what's going on, hope you read the translations, my dudes.
Yeah, and it would just be like a weird... Yeah, because no one would play it on NA anyway, because they'd be like, oh, this game is closed a year and a half or 2 years. Nice run.
Yeah, now the thing is, the interesting thing with, and we'll go back into the G part of G&A, with gacha games, and, because we both play a lot of gacha games, it seems like when you have a global release, they try to catch the game up like real fast, like lately.
Yeah.
Like take Azure Lane, for example. Typically, we'll get events as other servers get the same event. Like, maybe a little bit delayed, or, we'll get a rerun, or we'll get the first version of it while they get a rerun. And I think that while it kind of sucks because, you're obviously other servers have like way more chances to get whatever new thing that you've got, but at the same time, they've also been playing for 2 years.
Yeah. It's an interesting approach. It really depends on the game. Like, if FGO tried that, I would not be... I mean, Korea did that. I was not for that.
Yeah.
I think it works with Azure Lane, though. It's newer. It's easier to kind of put events... It does its spacing of events really well, I will say that. Plus, it's free-to-play friendly. Much more free-to-play friendly than FGO is.
Yeah, no, and I think the other thing, too, is that FGO is less a gacha game and more a visual novel with rock, paper, scissors that just wrecks your wallet.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, let's be real, the gameplay 99% of the time in FGO is hitting 3 super scopes.
Yeah, outside of like really specific challenge quests and things like that.
Dante's prison tower, specific challenge quests. But I mean, once you get down your farming, it's like, okay, cool. How can I 3-turn this?
Yeah,
Yep.
3K skin. There you go.
Yeah. So with FGO, it's more about the story, and I've never played another gacha game that has even as half of the story that FGO has, and that's going to be a really interesting hurdle for them to jump over whenever, because at some point it's got to end.
And you'll write yourself into a corner.
Yeah, and are we going to just be 2 years behind perpetually? That's kind of the interesting conundrum with Fate Grand Order.
That's true. I didn't even thought about it that way.
Yeah. So, or do they just go, okay, cool, everything after this is just a visual novel. We'll just give you the cutscenes translated. Sucks. Thanks for your money.
Bye, guys. Thanks for the money.
Peace. By the way, we're going to release these as some animes way out of order. We're doing Lost Belt 3, then 1, then 2.
Yeah.
By the way, these are consumable for no one who has ever watched Fate ever.
Yes. These are perfectly made for infants and toddlers, and they will be able to grasp it.
Yeah, and then people still be like, I don't understand. I don't understand. Why does that person look like every other Saber?
They should just make a Fate anime that's literally just sabers.
Just all saber
of
faces. Why haven't they had like
At this point, you can almost do a Grail War with just saber faces, I think.
I
think you just need a caster.
I don't think is there no caster saber face? They'll put out Morgana.
Yeah, they'll put out Morgana, and then we'll finally have our saber Grail War that we've all been longing for.
Yep. And then you just have multiples fighting each other for the title of Grand Saberface.
That's the actual ending of Fate Grand Order.
Right.
That's what it's all building up to.
It's all building up to just saber faces taking over the game. Why haven't we had
all along?
Yeah, I mean, outside of Saber Wars, we need another saber face event.
Yeah, I'm sure that that idea has been floated in the offices of Lightworks.
Yeah, they're just like, hey, look, can we make another saber face because I need more money. By the way, put out Jalter again.
Yes. We need more money.
Actually, the way that they could make all of the money is Proto Merlin.
I'm sure they're saving Proto Merlin and Proto Gil for like a rainy day. Like and Muramasa as well.
They're like sitting there. They're like, we've got to hit some big numbers this quarter. Just drop Proto Merlin.
There's like a big red button on their desk. Just drop it. Drop it, Nasu.
Like they hit it, and then like alarms and stuff go off, and it's like everyone's just like running around. They're like, "Oh my god, it's happening! It's happening!"
Money just starts raining from the ceiling.
Every FGO player in the world just gets like a chill up their spine.
Yeah,
like
a disturbance.
I sense a disturbance in my bank account. But, all right, man, we've been talking for a while. So, dude, it was an absolute pleasure talking to you.
Thanks for inviting me.
Yeah, no problem, man. I enjoyed talking to you at Anime NYC. You are a pretty awesome dude. But for those for those people who may not know who Soberoni is or where to find Soberoni, I don't understand, how you couldn't. But his information will be linked down in the description. And, man, I will... You know what? I'll probably have you back at some point. We'll talk about anime and games and anime. But I will, we'll end it here. Anything you want to say before we end up, man?
Nope. Feel free to invite me back anytime, and just had a blast, man. Thanks.
Absolutely. Do you want me to pick you up anything at the FGO tour? Did you see that they released all the merch? The What's Up
I
shirt.
didn't see that yet.
Oh, dude,
can you give me that What's Up shirt? That'd be awesome.
I'll try. They only have them in XL, so
that's perfect. I'll wear it to sleep.
All right, cool. Well, that's the biggest one they have. I forget that you're a little shorter than me, so
yeah, it'll work.
Might work. But all right, guys, I'll catch you on the next episode of the TSS podcast, and maybe one of these days I'll find a wiki on how to name my podcast. Take it easy. Peace.
Later, guys.